Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to plunge beneath the surface, get past the headlines, and really extract the strategic gold you need.
That's the goal.
And today, we're diving headfirst into something that's been generating a lot of buzz. It's the much-anticipated Season 2 of Empire and Legacy, African Business Chronicles.
Yeah, it really landed with a splash. And it's exciting because this isn't just, looking back at history. It's packed with strategy.
Exactly. Real-world business battles, lessons learned, particularly in the African financial services sector.
Right. So our mission today for you listening is basically to unpack a pretty comprehensive summary of that Season 2. We want to pull out the most potent insights from these, frankly, high-stakes clashes.
Absolutely. And whether you're, a seasoned executive trying to navigate these complex markets, or maybe you're an aspiring strategist plotting your next move,
Or even just intensely curious about what's shaping finance in Africa.
this deep dive is your shortcut. It's about understanding those enduring principles, those surprising twists. And believe me, these stories have plenty of drama.
Oh, definitely. High stakes, big personalities, unexpected turns.
Titans versus challengers. We're going to show you exactly why these stories are, well, must-listens for anyone competing today. So, yeah, let's unpack this.
Okay, so maybe the first question is, why these stories for Season 2? There are countless business stories out there. What made these specific ones stand out?
That's a great question. It wasn't random, right? There must have been some criteria for selecting these particular battles.
Well, for me, it always started with that inherent tension. You see, each deep dive in Season 2 deliberately puts an incumbent, the old guard, as we sometimes call them,
Right.
up against a really formidable insurgent or challenger, always within African financial services for this season.
And that clash, that old versus new, legacy versus disruption, that really makes things interesting, doesn't it?
It does, and you mentioned criteria. First, we absolutely zeroed in on high strategic stakes. These weren't minor disputes. We're talking about battles for huge markets, millions of users, sometimes completely transformational business models. The future of financial services, in some cases, really hung in the balance.
So big picture stuff.
Big picture, exactly. Second, we look for stories that showcased genuinely contrasting philosophies.
Like how they approach the market differently.
Precisely. That tension between a traditional, established way of doing things and, cutting-edge innovation or disruption, that's where you find the really profound lessons. How does a big, maybe slower-moving company react to a nimble disruptor?
Yeah, that dynamic is always fascinating. And you mentioned hijinks before. Was that a criterion too?
Well, third, we definitely needed tension and drama. Let's be honest, that's what keeps you listening.
Sure.
So yeah, intense boardroom clashes, clever, sometimes cunning regulatory moves, unexpected pivots. These stories are full of what we call hijinks. You really feel the pressure these leaders were under.
Makes it relatable, even at that scale.
It does. And finally, maybe the most important point for you, the listener, these stories are packed with leadership lessons.
Okay, so learning from the top.
Exactly. The decisions these CEOs made, their courage, sometimes their mistakes, their pivots, they fundamentally shaped the outcomes.
Yeah.
So if you're a leader, an executive, a strategist,
Yeah.
these are living case studies.
Right. Real-world examples of resilience, scaling, handling crises.
They're blueprints, really, for tackling real-world challenges you might be facing.
Okay, so let's dive into the saga then, episode by episode. See how these battles actually unfolded.
Sounds good. Each one definitely had its own unique flavor. Ambition, strategy, drama. It's all in there.
All right, first up, episode 1, fintech, frenemies, Flutterwave versus Paystack. Now this one I remember was fascinating. Two Nigerian fintech giants, both going after payments dominance.
Yeah, frenemies is a good word for it. Was it a partnership? Was it just brutal competition, an international expansion race? It was kind of all of the above at different times.
The leaders had different approaches, right?
Very different. You had Olubenga Agula at Flutterwave, really pushing for aggressive partnerships, a regional play, just scaling as fast as possible.
Go big or go home, sort of.
Pretty much. Then you had Shola Akinlaid at Paystack, who was much more focused on a platform-first approach. Quality of service was huge for him. Strong ESG principles, environmental, social, governance, and really solid corporate governance.
So a different kind of foundation.
Exactly. And the principle that pops out is that tension. Innovation and speed versus platform stability and strategic timing. Rapid expansion versus foundational strength. It's a classic business dilemma.
Okay, moving on to episode 2. Pan-African banking battles, Ecobank versus Standard Bank. This felt like a real David versus Goliath.
It absolutely did. EcoBank, this ambitious Pan-African project daring to challenge Standard Bank, a real veteran, almost colonial-era power.
Across dozens of markets, like over 30, right?
Yeah, the scale was immense. ADIME at EcoBank was all about agility, building the brand across incredibly diverse borders, trying to unify these varied markets, a massive undertaking.
At Standard Bank.
Well, Simshabala leveraged what they had. Deep legacy trust, huge credit capacity, and really robust risk infrastructure built over decades.
So they established power using its strengths.
Right. And this episode really highlighted that principle of network scale versus deep infrastructure. Is it better to be broad or deep? A fascinating fight.
Next up, episode 3. Crypto and new finance Luno versus Binance in Africa. This one felt like the Wild West a bit.
It really did. Crypto was exploding, and you had Luno positioning itself as the sort of trusted launch pad, really emphasizing safety and compliance.
Against Binance, the global behemoth.
Exactly. Binance with its massive global footprint, huge product range, and just super aggressive discount pricing.
So two totally different philosophies again.
Totally. Marcus Swanball at Luno was laser-focused on compliance, deep localization in each market, and building consumer trust above all else. Crucial in crypto.
Makes sense.
Whereas Changpeng Zhao, CZ at Binance, demonstrated the raw power of speed to market, offering tons of products and using aggressive pricing to grab share fast.
Wow. So the principle here is pretty stark.
Yeah. Trust and regulation versus agility and pure cost advantage. It really makes you ask, where's the future of finance heading? That tension is still playing out today.
Okay, let's shift gears. Episode 4. From Challenger to Champion Carbon versus CUDA. These were the upstarts, right? Challenger banks.
That's right. Racing from basically pre-launch to unicorn status, that billion-dollar valuation, in just a couple of years. Insanely fast growth.
And again, different engines driving that growth.
Completely different. You had Atoban, Ademila at Carbon, focusing squarely on a credit-first model, using loans to fuel growth, bringing people into the financial system via access to capital. A strong financial inclusion angle there.
So lending was the core. What about CUDA?
CUDA, under Babs Ogundai, was all about being the digital-first bank. Sleek user experience, a freemium model, basic services free, pay for extras, and a real culture built around customer delight, making banking feel easy, almost cool.
So the principle is about how you make money and keep customers happy.
Essentially, yes. Monetization via lending, like Carbon, versus creating a frictionless user experience and high engagement, like CUDA. Which path wins the customer's loyalty and wallet?
Interesting. Then episode 5. Old Guard versus New Wave Zenith Bank versus OPay. Another incumbent versus disruptor story.
A classic one. Zenith Bank, a Nigerian banking titan, suddenly finding itself facing OPay, this incredibly nimble force.
OPay had those super app ambitions, right? Trying to do everything.
Exactly. Ride-hailing, payments, food delivery, all bundled together versus Zenith's deep corporate services and institutional trust. Wow. It felt like a generational clash almost.
And a technological one, too.
Definitely. Godwin Emefiel at Zenith represented that full-suite financial services giant built on decades of trust, a corporate powerhouse. Sim Shagaya at OPay, though, showed this hyper-growth approach, diversifying incredibly quickly using tech enablement as the core strategy.
So the dilemma here is
breadth and established trust versus vertical diversification and sheer speed. Do you try to be everything to everyone reliably, or do you expand rapidly into related areas?
Got it. Okay, episode 6. Chipper Cash versus Eversend. This was about moving money across borders.
Right, the remittance space. Two innovators locked in a tight contest. Chipper Cash was really focused on making person-to-person transfers seamless, especially for the diaspora.
Making it easy for people to send money home.
Exactly, leveraging that network effect. Eversend, led by Moses Tugum, took a slightly different tack. They focused more on multi-currency wallets, really targeting traders and small businesses, SMEs.
And they played the currency differences.
Yeah, capitalizing on FX arbitrage opportunities, those small differences in exchange rates between markets. A bit more niche, perhaps.
So the principle.
It kind of boils down to network simplicity versus product breadth. Do you specialize and make one thing incredibly easy, like Chipper? Or do you offer a wider suite of tools for a specific segment, like Eversend? Specialization versus diversification again, but in the remittance world.
And finally, the one that really surprised me, episode 7, Bank versus Big Retail Absa versus Shoprite's Money Market.
That one turned heads, didn't it? A major South African bank, Absa, suddenly facing a challenge from a supermarket chain.
Shoprite, venturing into financial services, targeting their massive shopper base. It felt like the rules were changing.
They were. Jason Quinn at Absa had to lean on the traditional strengths,
Hmm.
brand legacy, regulatory licenses, established trust in
The
finance.
usual banking playbook.
Right. But Peter Engelbrecht at Shoprite leveraged completely different assets.
Yeah.
Immense retail reach, millions of people already walking through their doors, ingrained customer habits.
And just the sheer convenience of banking where you buy your groceries.
Exactly. So the principle was fascinating. Established financial sector trust versus the power of retail-anchored convenience. A really unique cross-industry battle for the customer.
Wow. Listening back to all those, it's amazing how certain themes just kept popping up, even in really different contexts.
It really is. Despite the unique companies, markets, personalities, these core strategic principles emerged again and again. They weren't just theories. They were tested under intense pressure.
So these are the pillars, you could say, the things that determine success or failure.
I think so. And the first big one, maybe counterintuitively in an age of disruption, is that scale and trust still matter. A lot.
Right, the incumbents weren't just sitting ducks.
Not at all. Think Standard Bank against EcoBank or Absa facing Shoprite. It wasn't just about who was newest or fastest. That legacy trust, the brand recognition built over years.
The operational infrastructure, compliance.
Exactly. Regulatory compliance, institutional relationships, often a cross-border footprint. Those things provide resilience. They allow incumbents to weather storms, even to pivot effectively when challenged.
Okay, but on the flip side, the challengers clearly had something going for them.
Yeah.
Disruption through agility. What did that look like?
Well, it's all about speed. Speed to market, lean decision-making, being able to experiment rapidly.
Yes, think things out quickly.
Yeah, platform innovation, and just this relentless focus on the customer experience. Yeah. Think CUDA versus Carbon or Binance against Luno. They moved incredibly fast, sometimes broke things, but they learned and iterated even faster.
And there was that recurring choice you mentioned, product versus platform model.
That's a huge strategic decision. Are you building a specific product or service, or are you building a platform that others can build on, or that enables an ecosystem?
How did that play out?
It influenced everything.
Yeah.
Clarity of your core offering, how you build an ecosystem around it, your monetization streams, how you keep users engaged, how extensible your model is for the future.
Yeah.
Paystack focusing on that robust platform versus Flutterwave's more aggressive product and market expansion is a perfect illustration.
And particularly for operating across Africa, that point about localization plus compliance, sustainability seemed critical.
Absolutely critical. You can't just parachute a global model in and expect it to work everywhere. Success required deep local market insight.
Understanding the nuances.
Yes, and crucially, aligning with local regulations, fitting the cultural context, building the right local partnerships, and managing risk effectively market by market.
Luno really emphasized that against Binance.
Exactly. Their focus on compliance and localization was a deliberate strategic choice against Binance's more global, standardized approach. EcoBank's whole Pan-African strategy, trying to be agile across diverse borders, also speaks volumes about this principle.
Okay, and the last pillar you mentioned was business model diversity.
Right. The most resilient players often weren't reliant on just one thing. They developed multiple revenue streams.
Hedging their bets, in a way.
Sort of. Finding high-margin services to complement lower-margin ones, sometimes vertically integrating, achieving scale economies, and getting really good at customer segmentation, offering different things to different groups.
Like Carbon's credit model, or Eversend focusing on multi-currency.
Precisely. Diversifying those revenue streams helps buffer against market volatility and opens up new avenues for growth, makes the whole enterprise much more robust.
It's really interesting when you lay it out like that, and connecting it back to the actual stories, you see how these principles played out, but also how the specific context, the leaders, the hijinks, made each case unique.
That's the fascinating part, the compare and contrast. Let's take leadership drive. We said all CEOs were pragmatic, vision-driven, hungry for growth. That's a similarity.
Okay.
But the differences. Carbon's Ademola prioritized credit access. CUDA's Ogundai obsessed over the user experience. Totally different focal points, driven by their vision and likely their personalities. Same underlying ambition, different expressions.
And market disruption. The insurgents all used tech, that was common.
Right, tech lowered the barriers to entry. But look at Flutterwave and Paystack. They were direct competitors in the same space. Yet one aggressively pursued partnerships and expansion, while the other focused on platform quality and eventually got acquired. A massive strategic divergence right there.
That trust versus speed dilemma you mentioned earlier really came through too.
Constantly. Luno versus Binance is the poster child, maybe. But also, EcoBank's bet on localized agility across many markets versus Standard Bank, relying on its deep, conservative, trusted scale. They sat at different points on that spectrum.
Each making a calculated bet.
Exactly. And facing different challenges because of it.
And the drama and tension, that wasn't just background noise. It often drove strategy, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Regulatory friction wasn't just an obstacle. It forced companies to adapt their models or partnerships. Tech outages weren't just embarrassing. They were crises that tested leadership and customer loyalty.
And those competitive slashes must have been intense.
For sure. But think about the strategic drama when Shoprite jumped into finance. That wasn't just competition. It blurred industry lines. It forced Absa into a defensive posture, bundling products, reacting to a move they probably never anticipated from a retailer. That's high-level strategic chess, triggered by drama.
Definitely keeps you on your toes. And the last point, stakeholder complexity.
Universal challenge. Every single one of these companies had to juggle investors, regulators, customers, employees. A complex web.
But the specifics differed.
Hugely. Chipper Cash had the unique complexity of the diaspora, understanding their needs, their networks, the trust dynamics. Eversend had to cater to the very specific needs and risk profiles of multi-currency traders and SMEs. So while the fact of complexity was universal, the nature of that complexity shaped their strategies profoundly.
It really paints a rich picture. So for anyone listening who's now intrigued and wants to hear these full stories, where can they find them?
Good question. All 7 episodes from Season 2 of Empire and Legacy, African Business Chronicles are out there. You can find them easily on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts.
Or basically wherever you get your podcasts.
Exactly. Just search for Empire and Legacy, African Business Chronicle. Check Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook pages. Just look for Empire and Legacy. Quote cards, key insights, video clips. It's a great way to get a taste or revisit key moments.
And all the past Season 2 episodes are archived there too.
Yep. On the social platforms and their website, you'll find an archive playlist or channel with all the Season 2 deep dives readily available.
Okay, so the stories are out there. But the real point, as you said earlier, isn't just listening. It's about learning and doing.
That's the core message, really. These aren't just interesting case studies to passively consume. They are blueprints for action. We genuinely learn best by doing.
So what are some concrete actions an executive, a strategist, someone listening right now could take away from this season, inspired by these battles?
Okay, let's make it practical. First off, audit your scale-trust balance.
What does that mean exactly?
Look at your own organization. Map out your legacy assets, your established trust, your infrastructure versus your innovation pipeline. Are they balanced? Maybe you need to reinvest in the trust-building stuff like risk management and compliance, while also piloting new, agile services. Don't neglect either side.
Okay, that makes sense. What's number 2?
Pilot a lean product. Don't wait for the perfect, fully featured offering. Take a page from Kuda or Chipper Cash. Launch a minimum viable product, an MVP, in one specific market segment.
Test the waters.
Exactly. Test the user experience, find the friction points, and iterate fast based on real feedback. Get something out there and learn.
Good advice.
Third, form strategic local partnerships, especially if you're entering new geographies. Look at how EcoBank operated, or even the Shoprite example from a different angle. Partnering with trusted local players or even retailers who have existing foot traffic and customer relationships can be way faster and more effective than trying to build everything from scratch.
Leverage existing networks. Okay, 4th point.
Diversify your business model. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Explore adjacent revenue streams. Could you offer credit as a service, like carbon, or multi-currency options like Eversend? Adding complementary income streams makes your business more resilient to shocks in any one area.
Makes sense. Buffers volatility. And the last one.
Finally, deep dive and read. Keep learning. We mentioned a few resources. African Payment Systems by Prosper Africa Insights, that McKinsey report, Fintech in Africa, Looking Back, Moving Forward, and a great book on strategy, Platform Leadership by Gower and Cusimano.
So keep educating yourself.
Yes, but go beyond just reading. Maybe shadow a peer competitor, study their customer engagement. Conduct small trust tests with customer groups to see how confident they feel in your offerings. Join local fintech associations to stay plugged into regulatory changes. It's about active learning.
It all comes back to that learning by doing idea.
Exactly. Season 2 gave us these incredible mirrored stories of disruption and adaptation. CEOs making decisions with huge consequences. The underlying principle is don't just listen, act.
These deep dives should prompt action, not just inform.
Right. So start now. Do that trust scale check. Launch that lean MVP. Find a local partner. Explore diversifying revenue. Read, yes, but also share what you learn. Iterate on your ideas.
Because by doing, you don't just passively consume the lessons.
You own them. You internalize them. That's when the real learning happens.
That's a powerful takeaway. So thinking ahead, we'd love to hear from you, the listener. What other business rivalries, what other epic clashes of empire and legacy, maybe in different sectors or regions, would you want us to deep dive into next? Let us know.
Yeah, we're always looking for the next great story to unpack. And just a quick final note, please remember, the content discussed in this deep dive today is based on publicly available information, news reports, company statements, public records. It's our analysis of historical business events and strategic decisions.
Absolutely. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
You've been listening to Empire and Legacy, African Business Chronicles. Our hosts are Zuri Mwangi and Kwame Adeyemi. Main episodes are released each Monday. Our hosts delve deeper into the CEOs at the helm on Wednesdays. On Thursdays, we explore the global perspectives, the standout businesses and CEOs, emerging trends and geopolitical developments, presenting both risk and opportunity. We're back each week, sharing more stories about the exciting business rivalries shaping the future of business across Africa. Empire and Legacy is essential listening for business professionals and leaders. Be sure to subscribe to be the first to know when new episodes are released. Until next time.